Now at 6, a new leader for Oregon's biggest school district after a turbulent year. Plus, Portland parents express concern after the teachers union wades into the Israel-Hamas war.
To see the leadership put together something like this is just really sad.
Then, is the new plan from city and county leaders to tackle housing and homelessness actually attainable?
Maybe the targets seem unrealistic, but I think we have to be swinging big.
And full steam ahead. Details on who's docking along the Portland waterfront tomorrow for the longest-running Fleet Week in the nation. Thanks so much for joining us this Tuesday. I'm David Molko. Our top story at 6, Oregon's largest public school district has found its next superintendent, a familiar face for Portland teachers who is set to return to the Rose City from across the Columbia. Alma McCarty's in the newsroom with the school board set to vote on this tomorrow morning. Alma?
Yeah, David, the PPS Board of Education says Dr. Kimberly Armstrong is just what the district needs in this time of opportunity and challenge. She's a former chief academic officer for the district and most recently the deputy superintendent for Evergreen Public Schools in Vancouver. Last week, she joined the 2 other finalists for the PPS position at Grant High School to answer parent questions as part of the interview process. Armstrong said if picked, this would be her final stop, the place she could see herself staying and then retiring. She'll step into this role with 25 years of public education experience. Dr. Armstrong told families she believes she can work to close gaps in academic achievement, to fix district buildings in serious need of repair, and to connect with teachers and the teachers union. Here's a snippet from last week's Q&A.
That I am so excited to be here. When I tell you that this is the dream, like Portland Public Schools, it's enough. It's enough for me for the rest of my career to do some great work. I believe and I imagine Portland to be a great place. And I know, as I said earlier, if I can imagine it, then we can achieve it.
The district says Dr. Armstrong's 3-year contract will begin on July 1st of this year. She takes over for Guadalupe Guerrero, who stepped down in February and took a job in LA. David?
Thanks, Alma. Appreciate that update. Hey, meanwhile, just hours ago, the Portland Teachers Union took down some pro-Palestinian teaching materials after pushback from some Jewish leaders and families. Let's go to Thomas Schultz live outside Union headquarters in Northeast Portland with that story. So, Thomas, what are you hearing from parents?
Yeah, well, David, parents say they're pleased with the reversal, though they're skeptical if it's enough because they say these teacher guides contain messaging they deemed anti-Semitic.
The guide is extremely one-sided.
Hours before the Portland Teachers Union took down pro-Palestinian teaching guides, some of which refer to Israelis as colonial settlers, Portland Public Schools parents told us they worry how the material could impact their students.
I mean, I'm supportive of the teachers, and to see the leadership put together something like this is just really sad.
Teaching material was for grades K through 12. And Jewish community leaders say the material glossed over October 7th attacks on Israel while slanting the conflict through a pro-Palestinian lens.
PAT really, since shortly after October 7th, has been engaged in political advocacy on one side of this conflict.
Along with teaching material, Portland public teachers say the union handed out pro-Palestinian material at a meeting last Tuesday. Some pages called Israeli government apartheid rule. Other pamphlets refer to Hamas as a Palestinian resistance force.
They're not encouraging a comprehensive conversation.
We reached out to the district for an interview. We never heard back. We also asked the teachers union for an interview. Instead, they sent us a statement saying they have a history of speaking out against injustice. They're committed to social justice and keeping schools free of discrimination, like Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. Later, they added they've taken down some material for review, which initially didn't go through the review process. Still, Jewish families worry union rhetoric could lead to anti-Semitism.
It feels like the intention is specifically to create that divide.
We're going to see damage happening to some of our kids, as we're already seeing.
And already, Jewish leaders say Jewish students have become less likely to speak out in class.
Children who do not feel safe in an environment don't learn as well as those who do.
leading some parents to worry how a conflict across the world will impact their own kids.
It feels like a very aggressive way to demonize an entire population.
Now, we also spoke to a Jewish teacher in Portland Public Schools. He says that he feels like these guides are a violation of educational ethics, and he sees this move to remove some of that curriculum as too little, too late. David?
Yeah, Thomas Schultz in Northeast Portland. Thomas, appreciate your reporting on this. To your headlines now, starting with a grand jury in Clackamas County that has decided a deadly police shooting was justified. On April 30th, officers shot and killed Andrew Song inside his Happy Valley home. He was accused of holding his wife and 2 children hostage. After several hours of negotiations, police say Song made a threat toward his family. That is when authorities entered the building and shot him. The grand jury found the officers and deputies acted legally under Oregon law. One person is dead after being hit by a car overnight in Portland's Park Rose neighborhood. Officers responded to the crash near Northeast Sandy and 95th just before 10 last night. The pedestrian died at the scene. Police say the driver is cooperating. This is the 22nd traffic fatality on Rose City streets this year. In Gresham, police continue to appeal for help to find 2 missing siblings. Their mother says they may have been spotted with extended family and friends since they left home last week, though we understand it could be a case of custodial interference, which is a felony. The kids are 10-year-old Alex Lewis and 12-year-old Alyssa Lewis. Alex was last seen wearing a gray and white Tupac shirt with blue jeans. Obviously, we don't have the right images here for you. Alyssa was wearing a blue NASCAR shirt and sweatpants. Anyone with information is asked to call 911. And finally, the company that owns a chain of a dozen newspapers across Oregon and Washington says it is cutting staff and scaling back publication. EO Media Group says 28 staffers have already received layoff notices and another 19 will see their hours reduced. 5 papers in Eastern Oregon, in LeGrand, Baker City, Hermiston, John Day, and Enterprise will cease publishing print editions. They will continue to exist online, but subscribers will now get the East Oregonian out of Pendleton in their mailboxes. The company is reportedly seeking a new owner with more resources. Matt?
Thanks, David. It is still raining at the Oregon coast, as you can see down in Newport, but boy, if things ever improved here in the valley. Yeah, we got some blue skies, so plenty of clouds out there. Could still be a stray shower for the next couple of hours, but we've warmed up to 68 simply because of those sun breaks, even though it's later in the day. Still a bit breezy, winds out of the southwest at 16. And it's been very breezy on the Oregon coast today. Look at this. We have gusts of nearly 50 miles an hour at the Astoria-Megler Bridge, nearly 40 miles an hour at Pacific City and Newport. So it's been a very blustery day, especially at the Oregon coast. And yes, I know the Oregon coast gets blustery, but for June, that was pretty windy. So our atmospheric river is drying up and changing course. We're done with those 2 this week. Great parade weather marching in. And the weekend weather coming up, remember how rainy it was on Sunday? Well, this weekend will be the exact opposite of that, with warm weather and sunshine. Tomorrow, sunny, 50 in the morning, 72 the eventual high. Sun set at 8:56 as we close in on those 9 p.m. sunsets. So what about the parades? Well, we've got the junior parade tomorrow. Perfect weather for that. It'll be clear, won't be too hot. Temperatures very pleasant. And then on Saturday in the morning, parade time temperatures 68 to 73. Maybe a couple of scattered clouds, but really, David, one of the better parade forecasts we've had in years. Back to you.
Yeah, looking good. Exactly what we need after all that rain. Thanks, Matt. We're following up this evening on a final proposal from Multnomah County and the city of Portland that lays out their plans and priorities when it comes to addressing the ongoing homeless crisis. Daisy Caballero is live in Southwest Portland. Daisy, you've been talking with people in the community to get their take on it. What'd they tell you?
Well, David, everyone that we spoke with, this seems to be on board, but there is a lot to unpack here. For starters, this final plan was built from a previous draft that they released back in March, and since then they've added a few key points, all thanks to community input. But their goal and message still remains the same: to resolve and prevent homelessness in Portland. By December of next year, they're aiming to house or shelter an additional 2,700 homeless people, increase shelter capacity by 40%, and add 1,000 shelter beds. So how do we get there? Well, the first 2 years will involve an aggressive approach working with groups like the Joint Office of Homeless Services and state partners. And it starts this month by by beginning to identify 20 commercial buildings in downtown to convert into housing and open 276 new shelter beds by the end of this year. While this all may seem unattainable to some, Scott Kerman with the Blanchet House is happy to see these ambitious goals from both the city and county working together.
Maybe they won't hit every target, but if we're working toward those targets and making significant progress, then we're going to see a lot of positive change in our community, and a lot of people are going to be helped.
Now, this updated plan also comes after hundreds of community members voiced their thoughts throughout these last 2 months, asking a few things to be added to the plan, including better housing needs for refugees and asylum seekers, expand the behavioral health workforce, and funding additional day services for people experiencing homelessness. Now, both the city and county are expected to vote on this final plan a little later next month. And of course, we'll keep you up to date. But if you want to read a little bit more about the final plan, you can go to KGW.com. David, back to you.
Yeah, plan is one thing, action another. We'll keep you posted. Thank you, Daisy. Today marks 14 years since Kyron Horman went missing. The second grader was last seen at Skyline Elementary School in Northwest Portland and has never been found. Investigative reporter Kyle Leboshi has been covering the story since day one. And Kyle, is worth noting, after all these years, this investigation is still very much active.
Indeed, David. The missing boy's mother confirms there have been searches in just the past few months, and police are using new software and technology. The sheriff's office even created a new website with information about the case where people can submit tips. But after 14 years, still no sign of Kyron Horman. It was June 4th, 2010, when the little boy went missing. He was last seen at Skyline School in Northwest Portland while attending his school's science fair. His stepmother, Terry Horman, even snapped a photo of Kyron in front of his science project. He had a big smile, wore glasses, and a CSI t-shirt. But that afternoon, Kyron didn't return home on his school bus as scheduled. For days, the FBI and local police coordinated what would be one of the largest search efforts in state history. But Kyron Horman has never been found. His biological mom, Desiree Young, appreciates all the people working to find her little boy.
It's hard, but you know, there's times where I just have to remember all the good that comes of this and all the people that care for Kyron and want to fight for him.
There have been no arrests in the case, although a judge referred to Kyron's stepmom as a, quote, prime suspect. Terry Horman was the last known person to see Kyron the day he disappeared. She's long denied any wrongdoing. The sheriff's office is offering a $50,000 reward for information helping to solve this case. Hard to believe it's been 14 years, David.
Yeah, 14 years of trying to find answers. Thank you, Kyle.